Starkville has had 2 water main leaks recently that caused several Starkville residents that had to boil their water. Chi Omega sorority hosted their annual Limelight performance at the Hump last Friday night.
After several days of dry conditions, the Starkville Fire Department are continuing to burn bans for the city limits of Starkville.
Your news, keeping our state informed. Broadcasting from the home of the Bulldogs. Now, from the University Television Studios of Mississippi State University, this is Take 30 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Madison Bryan. A local high school coach recently pled guilty to trying to persuade a minor to engage in sexual acts.
And I'm Jamiron Ross. Our top story this afternoon, bullet holes were found in the Emmett Till sign. The Emmett Till sign was shot with over 40 bullet holes. Emmett Till was a 14-year-old black teenager who was murdered in Mississippi in 1955 for allegedly whistling at a white woman. The sign marker was located where his body was found in rural Tallahatchie County, which is 2 hours north of Jackson. The Emmett Till Interpretive Center received over $20,000 in donation to help replace the sign. Replacing the sign will only cost $2,000, and the remainder of the money will go to utilize to commemorate in the other ways.
Planned Parenthood has succeeded in blocking a Mississippi law that prevented the state's Medicaid program from offering coverage to health care providers that offer abortions. The law was signed on July 1st by Mississippi's Governor Phil Bryant, and by May, Mississippi no longer allowed taxpayer dollars to be allocated to Planned Parenthood after rumors surfaced that the provider was caught selling body parts of the aborted fetuses. Planned Parenthood fought back, saying Mississippi was in violation of the free choice provider, which is a federal law. U.S. District Judge Daniel P. Jordan III ruled in favor of the Planned Parenthood, which made Mississippi the 17th state to lose the health care provider.
Former Starkville Academy baseball coach Jody Wayne Brent pled guilty to 2 accounts of computer luring of a child. An affidavit indicates that he sent 2 Starkville Academy female students several text messages and requested them to send pictures of themselves to him. Although he pled guilty, Brent will not be sentenced until November 14th in Columbus, Mississippi. He could face up to 6 years in prison, and if convicted, will need to register as a sex offender.
Starkville has had 2 water main leaks recently that caused several Starkville residents that had to boil their water. On October 19th, people living on Greensboro Street were notified that they would need to boil water after an extended water outage. The boil noted was lifted on Monday. On Friday, residents of the Pleasant Acres neighborhood were notified that a water main leak occurred and they would need to boil water. Residents must boil water for a minimum of 2 minutes and then let it cool before using it to wash vegetables, your teeth, or prior to you or your pets consuming it. It could take up to 30 minutes for the water to cool, so boil water in advance so it will be ready to use when you need it. The boil water notice is supposed to expire at 5 p.m. tonight.
After several days of dry conditions, the Starkville Fire Department are continuing to burn ban for the city limits of Starkville. The ban was issued on October 4th by the SFD because of concerns of possible fires. Fire Marshal Mark McCarty addressed issues of barbecuing during the ban and how to take proper precautions.
The biggest thing that we caution people on is when you get through grilling, do not dispose of your charcoal in your yard. A lot of people will take it and dump the charcoal out.
Anyone caught burning during the ban will be fined $500 plus damages. Residents are allowed to grill, but fires of any other type are forbidden.
One of the San Francisco's most popular towers is leaning and beginning to sink. Millennium Tower's lean has been the topic of concern for some of the residents. San Francisco is located along the San Andreas Fault, and many are saying that building that will not withstand an earthquake of any magnitude because of its poor foundation. Although most Most skyscrapers do sink and settle into its foundation. This building is sinking faster and deeper than what it was predicted to do in 2009. Engineering crews are digging deeper into the foundation of the building to find a solution.
16-year-old Ruben Nesma woke up from his coma speaking another language. Nesma is a goalie for his elite traveling soccer team, and he was kicked in the head while diving for a ball and got a concussion. While on the way to the hospital, Nesma stopped breathing and had several seizures and fell into a coma for 3 days. When he woke up, he spoke in fluent Spanish, something he had never done before. His English is slowly coming back, and he is eager to get back on the soccer pitch. However, Nesmo is required to wear headgear while playing soccer from now on. This is Nesma's third concussion. So, Parker, speaking of sports, concussions, what is going on in our sports world?
Well, locally, Mississippi State not doing too well in the bigger sports like football, but in sports like golf, we're having pretty much some good success. And nationally, we got a lot of stuff talking about baseball and professional football. Yeah. I'll have all that next in sports.
Sounds good.
You're watching Take 30 News, broadcasting live from Mississippi State University's television studios. Stay tuned for more Take 30 News coming up on MSTV. Our state, our news.
Going to start off with a couple of wins for the Bulldog athletic program. After coming off a 4-match losing streak, MSU's lady volleyball team went up against the Tennessee Volunteers this past Sunday. It was tough to see who would come out on top as the first game started off with a couple of lead changes, but the Bulldogs did go on to win the first match, and then the third one went on a 4-0 run and won with a block from freshman Emily Hill. All sets were close, but the Bulldogs managed to sweep the Volunteers 3-0. The Lady Bulldogs are now 4-5 in SEC play and 12-11 overall. The women travel to Arkansas in Fayetteville to play the Razorbacks on Sunday. Now moving on to golf, junior Taylor Bibbs led the men's golf team to a 7th place finish with a final round score of 282 to close out the fall season at the Quail Valley Collegiate Invitational. Coach Clay Homan said that he likes the consistency his guys put in this fall and that they're getting better as the season goes on. The men's golf team is not alone in their program's success, as the MSU women's golf team are doing pretty well also. Senior Jen Ubach tied the tournament record with a final score of 64 to help the women clinch a 4th place finish at the Mary S. Koff Invitational in San Antonio, Texas this past Tuesday. The women's team looks to continue this exceptional play during their spring schedule. Now on to the most popular sport in Starkville. The MSU football team is on a 3-game losing streak, putting them 2-5 for the first time since 2008. Feels like just yesterday, the Bulldogs were riding the Dak Prescott train and ranked #1 in the country. There are obviously holes in the offense and defense for the Bulldogs and must be filled. Many outside sources believe this would be a rebuilding year. No one expected the Bulldogs to have this kind of a season. Head coach Dan Mullen expresses that his team is on the right track. But when it comes to being at the wire, the Bulldogs are the ones who come up short.
We've lost in the last play of the game in overtime. We've lost in the last play of the game with our offense on the field and the last play of the game with our defense on the field. So we've we managed to kind of cover it all. I've never been in a situation where in a single season I've lost 3 games on the final play, not just the final drive or the final possession or on the final play of the game in one season. So
now to continue with the losses, the Bulldogs are not only having a losing season in football, but they're also losing their athletic director, Scott Strickland. The University of Florida hired Strickland back in September to be their athletic director for the upcoming season. Yesterday afternoon, MSU President Mark Keenum announced that Scott Weatherby will act as interim athletic director until a permanent replacement is named. Weatherby was the senior associate athletic director and handled the external affairs for the MSU athletic department, and he has over 15 years of experience. With more football at the SEC, the big name, Alabama. The Crimson Tide are now 8-0 and have put the rest of the nation on notice. The #1 team in the country has faced 3 of the top SEC teams in the past 3 weeks, and all of them were ranked in the top 10. Keyword, were. But for Nick Saban and company, it doesn't seem to matter who is on the other side of the field. The Tide won the past 3 games by an average margin of 18 points, while scoring 43 points per game. The Tide are on a bye week this weekend, but will be back this next weekend to face bitter rival LSU. More football, but on the professional level, after a strong season start with 5 wins and no losses, the Minnesota Vikings lost their first game this past Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. They were the underdogs, the Eagles were, but they managed to force 4 turnovers, which is something that's not normal for the Vikings offense. The game started off pretty shaky as the team traded turnovers, but when Josh Huff returned a 98-yard kick return, the Eagles had the momentum that they needed and ended up winning the game 21-3. On the professional level, but baseball, the sport that everyone has talking about, fans of these organizations are excited, and baseball fans nationwide are shocked to see this matchup for the World Series in 2016. The Chicago Cubs and the Cleveland Indians. 2 of the longest World Series droughts in Major League history, 108 years for Chicago as compared to 68 years for the Cleveland Indians. They're meeting on the big stage in October. Last night's game was Game 1 in Cleveland, and the Indians held the Cubs scoreless throughout the entire game and would later take Game 1 by a score of 6-0. With 6 possible games left, there's still no telling which team will end their decades-long streak without a World Series. Game 2 is set for tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Poor passing, 16 turnovers, and the inability to sink threes. This does not sound like the Golden State Warriors that we know about, who lost to the San Antonio Spurs last night by 29 points. By the end of the game, the Warriors were only 7 of 33 from the three-point line. Many Golden State fans were shocked by the team's poor performance because last season they only lost 9 games. I can count them on 2 hands, 9 games. The Warriors were unable to sustain any momentum, and the Spurs outscored them in every single quarter. The final score of the game was 129-100. That's all for sports. I'm going to toss it back to you, Myron, for our toss to weather.
Those are some interesting facts in our sports. Now, Jessica, I have a couple of questions for you. One question, I did have to grab that jacket, and will I do have to grab it again? And my second question is it still going to be hot?
It's still going to be hot. Yeah, we are unseasonably warm, but very dry, so our temperatures are able to fluctuate, go really low in the morning, but then rise up quickly. And that results in burn bans across the Magnolia State. Will this change pretty soon? I'll let you know in your full forecast coming up.
Depend on accurate weather forecasts to plan our day. That's why Mississippi State University is teaching students to forecast the future using real-world news sets as classrooms, putting scientific discoveries in meteorology to the test, while honing on-air reporting skills real-time with local TV stations. And we do it so well that at any given moment, 3 out of 4 weather forecasts across the nation are being delivered by MSU-trained meteorologists who are helping people make crucial decisions that impact their safety, working to ensure business continuity, and in many cases, saving lives. Predicting the future? That's what we're preparing for every single day, so that you can prepare for your day.
Hi, welcome back to Take 30 News. I'm with Philip Keck. Philip is a member of Engineers Without Borders. Philip, can you tell us a little bit about the organization?
So Engineers Without Borders is part of a national organization. They're based out of Colorado, and they're kind of focused on engineering sustainability and coming up with innovative solutions for disadvantaged communities around the world. So here at Mississippi State, we have a student chapter, and we're involved in a project in Zambia, Africa.
Okay, you mentioned Zambia, Africa. Can you tell us a little bit more about the project you guys have going on in Zambia?
So we have a 5-year project. We're currently just finished our 4th year. and we've implemented 9 wells that reach over 2,400 people. Some of the things that helps with is it brings healthy, clean water to the people of Zambia. Specifically, the Sim-Waterchella region is where we work. It also allows them to grow crops during the dry season, where they have no rain for about 4 to 5 months, and so that helps them bring water to their livestock, their plants, and of course themselves.
Yeah, you mentioned bringing water and irrigation systems. Also, I know that y'all built a well right next to a school. What impact did that have on that community?
Okay, so besides bringing healthy, clean water to the children and the teachers there, it really just kind of brought a smile to their faces, and it brought joy and hope to that community. And in addition to that, whenever a community gets water, especially near a school, it allows teachers to come in, foreign aid teachers, or even clinics to be built nearby. And that's really good. It helps them to go further with their community.
Yeah, you know, water is a natural resource that some of us in the United States take for granted. But can you explain to us how did the reaction on some of the people's faces that you saw to be able to have accessible water that's not only fresh but clean?
It was a pretty great feeling. I've never seen that much excitement in somebody's face, but I mean, people in America, we get excited over getting a new phone, getting a new car. But over there, just getting something as simple as water, which we get out of a tap, maybe they still have to walk 2 kilometers to go get it, but they're just ecstatic about it. They're jumping around, they're dancing, they're singing, and they're just really great people.
Yeah, you have to have compassion for people to do a thing like this, and it's great for Engineers Without Borders to even reach out to do something like this.
Yeah, it's really a time commitment, and as well as a big financial commitment on the parts of our donors, and we kind of rely on those things to keep us running and keep these projects going. So
yeah, not only I know y'all have international duties that you take care of, but some things here in Starkville that you guys are doing that's coming up. What do you have going on around here in Starkville?
Okay, so besides fundraisers, which I'll get to in a second, we have a lot of volunteer stuff that we do. We go to Habitat for Humanity. We volunteer a lot there. We also go to the refuge, Noxubee National Wildlife Refuge, and we've done several projects there. We do stream cleanups, things like that. And in addition to that, we do fundraisers, like I said earlier. And we currently have one coming up called the Hunger Banquet, and we're going to be having that on November 10th from 7 to 9 p.m. It's $5 to come in. You get a free food after the $5. And then we also just kind of raise awareness about hunger and water solutions in those communities and how we are bringing those things to those people.
Yeah, so can you expand on that hunger event that you will have next week? What would it entail? What type of specifics will be given out during that event?
Okay, so we give out, we kind of try to make it a little bit more fun. We can do a little game in the middle of it. We have 3 different class groups. We have wealthy, we have moderate, and then we have our poorest of the poor, which are people that make under like $800 a year. And we kind of divide these groups up like that. And so the people that are poor, they kind of get put on the floor around campfires, and they get like the worst food, I guess. It's still good, but and then like the wealthy people, they sit at tables, they have fancy little decorations, kind of more of what we are used to seeing in a normal dinner table. So it kind of gives people just that image of what the difference in poverty levels are in different countries. Because even the highest level is still considered poor to a lot of people in America, but in other countries that's incredibly wealthy. So,
well, Philip, I thank you for coming and taking time out of your busy schedule to sit down with me. We will have more with weather next with Jessica Faith after the break.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining in. We are still pretty warm and pretty dry. We do see these line of showers trying to make their way into the Magnolia State. Now we'll see a little bit of rain tonight and early in the morning. For tomorrow, They're not really going to help with lifting the burn bans, though. It's still going to be pretty hot and not really changing anything. Now, satellite and radar are the predictors showing some cloud cover coming in tomorrow. A few select cities could get lucky with these showers. Not many of us assume we actually have like a 1 in 5 rain chance for tomorrow. Again, not enough rain to lift the burn bans. And then, so here it is for tomorrow around 1 p.m. Excuse me, for Thursday. Showers coming in. Again, a few select cities will see this rain, but it's not nearly enough. High-res predictor again showing a good bit of cloud cover. Now, this is not enough to help. So again, we're going to be above average. Thursday, we do have those showers coming in. Pretty much same forecast as last week. Last week we had that late week cold front coming through. Not really doing anything though for our temperatures. Now for the next 7 days, we're going to continue to be above average. Pretty warm, Madison and Jamiron. Temperatures in the low to mid 80s for our high. It's still pretty hot. And next week we're going to be entering a new month with those same temperatures. Now our low, we're going to be in the 50s. So we'll be pretty low, and then we'll rise those temperatures quickly up. We do have a small rain chance tomorrow, again, not doing too much for us.
That's crazy. I wish we can just go ahead and shop for our winter clothes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Not anytime soon.
Flight. It's driven mankind's dreams for centuries. The ability to soar above the earth, to travel to faraway places, to connect distant points. Manned flights to the moon and space were once the stars for which we reached. Now, unmanned aircraft are the future. At Mississippi State University, our teams are developing unmatched unmanned aircraft systems for an array of critical applications. We're so good at it, the Federal Aviation Administration named MSU the Center of Excellence in the field, asking us to lead the team that's creating the operating regulations for unmanned aircraft systems worldwide. So we're writing the flight plan for an industry that is the future. Our work means better information, more opportunity, and limitless horizons. For you. The sky really is the only limit.
Your news. Keeping our state informed. Broadcasting from the home of the Bulldogs. This is Take 30 News.
Chi Omega sorority hosted their annual Limelight performance at the Hump last Friday night. This show plays a major role for what everyone around here calls Wish Week. Limelight typically generates a lot of the funds that are needed to send a child with a cancer or a survivor of cancer to Disney World. A total of 21 different groups perform choreographed dances to the theme of their choice. Zeta Tau Alpha was crowned the winners for the women's division, and Pi Kappa Tau won for the men. Mississippi students weren't the only ones granting wishes this week. The Make-A-Wish Foundation built a miniature version of Fenway Park in a 10-year-old Thomas Hastings' backyard. The Red Sox have been his favorite team since he was a small child, and the miniature ballpark is a perfect size for him. Walking long distances is difficult for Hastings because he has muscular dystrophy and scoliosis. More than 200 people helped remove over 70 trees and moved over 240 yards of sand to help Hastings' wish of having a fantasy Fenway Park in his backyard. Halloween is just around the corner, and kids are getting ready to dress in costumes and get candy. This Thursday, kids in the Starkville area are invited to play dress up in their Halloween costumes and trick-or-treat around sorority or fraternity row. MSU Greek Life students will be passing out candy at their houses. The event is free and will be from 4 to 6 p.m. There will also be a carnival in the Junction from 5 to 7 p.m. MSU Student Association kicked the homecoming week off right by offering students free pancakes, and a chance to speak with University President Mark Keenum on Monday in the Union Plaza. MSU's dining services provided pancakes, and President Keenum was joined by other SA staff and faculty, although the primary goal of the pancake breakfast was to feed students. It also provided them some casual conversations with Keenum, as well as a meet and greet with MSU's homecoming queen, Shawanda Brooks. Students were also able to find out about other homecoming events to expect during the rest of the week. 9-year-old Addie Rodriguez was the only cheerleader on the field that didn't have her dad to hoist her into the air during a father and daughter cheer at Central Catholic High School football game. Rodriguez started to cry because her father couldn't be there because he was in Air Force training. After seeing her tears, high school senior Matthew Garcia came to her rescue and hoisted her in the air so she could join the cheer. Mississippi State University has been putting on its annual Interfaith Dialogue Challenge ever since the challenge was issued by the White House in 2011. The 5-person panel discussed what happens from the perspective of their religion. Most of the panel mainly agreed that happiness is all about a matter of perspective and how you view the world.
We find something out of proportion, but someone from a different perspective, looking at the same matter, can provide their input so as to put into perspective what I'm looking at.
The Interfaith Dialogue takes place every October in different venues around campus. Next year's topic and location has not yet been announced. Homecoming week is underway at Mississippi State University, which means there are numerous events happening all over the week. MTV's Wild 'N Out will be coming up tonight to perform in Lee Hall's Bettersworth Auditorium. Lab Rats, an improv comedy troupe from MSU Communication Department, will kick off the show at 6:30 p.m. and Wild 'N Out will perform at 7 p.m. The event is sponsored by the MSU Student Association and it will start at 7 p.m. Admittance is free. Jamiron, so do you have any big plans for Halloween or anything?
I actually do. I think I'm going to take my niece and take her out trick-or-treating. She has this little costume. I think she wanted to be a vampire or something like that. Yeah. But she loved Frozen, so I hope she goes with that because vampire is not a girl thing.
That sounds fun. I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite events, so I can't wait to...
I just like the candy.
Right? Just going house to house and getting candy?
That's it. I love the candy.
I know. I understand.
Well, thanks for tuning in with us this week. I'm Jamiron Ross.
And I'm Madison Bryan. Join us next week at 4 p.m.